Sorry. And we've got world-renowned paddler Travis Grant, and also world-renowned paddle sports luminary Steve West. We're just going to have an off-the-cuff chat ahead of this weekend's London SUP Open, which is one of the main reasons Travis is here.
Yeah.
Travis, how are you finding the UK so far?
Yeah, I got here Wednesday. It's sunny England. It's been, I mean, this is apparently the best summer on record. They're saying it's been sunny for how many weeks?
A few.
Yeah. What are we?
So far.
Beginning of July. It's super hot. It feels like I'm in Australia right now, to tell you the truth. The water's not cold. We're down Hailing Island, not England, not London. Sorry. Yeah, I'm blown away. I'm like, everyone's like, it's not always like this.
It's not always like this, no.
Shit, if it is, I said this is a great place. It's a very good first impression for me. It's really nice down here.
Great.
It's beautiful.
Glad you're liking it so far.
Yeah.
Now you two have obviously got a bit of history together, which is why you're on hailing with Steve.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Well, I guess I first saw Travis steering a 6-man Outrigger canoe on the Gold Coast. He must have been only 12 or 14. And my good friend of mine, Chris Maynard, was talking about him back then, and he was saying, "Oh, you should watch this guy. He's pretty handy, you know, blah blah blah." And I watched him, and I go, "Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that." And then over the years, you know, I was in Molokai, which is about an hour and a half north of the Gold Coast, and I used to see him at races and regattas in the OC6s with the Outrigger canoe, and just saw him evolve. And he then he progressed to the OC1s, and he actually started doing some writing for me, actually, for a publication.
Started growing up.
Yeah, and then we started dragging him overseas, and I think his first trip was to
Tahiti.
Marquesas, yeah.
Marquesas, I don't know wherever, no one even knows where Marquesas is.
Yeah, it's the middle of nowhere, and
There
was guys like him and Jamie Mitchell, and
another big name, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, another big name. Yeah.
That was a bit of baptism by fire for him, you know, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I met you through canoe paddling, but at the same time, there was no such thing as stand-up. I mean, Jamie was doing his prone, and just by chance, on the Gold Coast where I grew up, he was on the Sunshine Coast, which is another coast further north. All the best athletes from the Gold Coast just happened to be canoe paddling at the moment. You know, they sort of, and I just happened to be, I guess, in the right place at the right time, and was in the same club and was learning subconsciously, accidentally from them. I was the smaller of the bunch, so I started steering, and I just got basically welcomed into their crew for being such a young, I guess, no-name. You know, he's a young kid. That I guess showed, I guess, promise. And Chris Maynard, who's a similar, I guess, build to us, or a similar build. You sort of hang around with similar build people, yeah. You're like, oh, you're good. You're like my size. Like, oh, what did you do? You know,
you're fit.
You sort of, I guess, I'm not going to copy someone who's 6 foot tall. I'm going to like more gravitate to more the guy that looks like me. That's just, I guess I think that subconsciously happened. So I gravitated to, you know, Chris Maynard and Steve because we were similar builds. And they were very successful in their field.
Steering a big responsibility as well.
Sorry?
A big responsibility. Steering.
It's funny. I mean, obviously, it's the most important seat in a canoe. It's sort of nearly unfair. You're the captain unofficially. You're in charge of the canoe again unofficially. But yeah, the responsibility is huge. I never really thought of it like that, so the pressure never really got to me. And then one person in the crew, obviously everyone was senior to me, said the biggest thing about being a good steerer is you can be a good steerer, but if you don't have the respect of others in the crew, then no one's. You need the respect. So they just said the word respect, and I think I was like 17 at the time, and then that was my goal for the rest of my life, was just to gain respect from. I don't really care who it was, but just that it just made sense. So all I did was I was just polite, like I was just a really good guy, and I went to Hawaii, and again my only goal was to gain just respect from peers, and it's sort of in Hawaii and even Tahiti, that's like a big deal. I didn't know that. And I said, it was just this person said it to me once in an Australian way, but I took it literally, and that's been my whole journey, is just trying to get people's respect. And then people say I have it, but I'm still not satisfied yet.
You definitely come across as one of the nice guys of paddle sports.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've heard that before.
Oh yeah, I've heard that, and like I'm fulfilling what I want to do, but I'm still like, you never just go, okay, I've done it now, and just be disrespectful. That's sort of, I guess, it's a practice that I'm always trying to do, whether they're senior or younger than me. Now, obviously, I'm one of the older guys in the sport now. It sounds weird. I'm 35 and I'm like the senior, and but I am starting to feel it, admittedly, like I'm going grey. But even the younger people, I mean, I still respect them unless they don't respect me, sort of thing.
Of course, yeah.
And so hopefully,
give and take, yeah.
they're saying you got to lead by example. So hopefully they see someone like me without being a nice, respectful person. They're like, oh, that's where I should be. If you see someone you look up to acting like a dick, then you might think that's okay. So I think you should practice what you preach, or lead by example, and that's sort of, I guess, now the role of I have to, or I've stumbled into.
No, it's an interesting point, particularly in this day and age where you see particular sportsmen and women maybe not being quite so respectful. Not necessarily in paddle sports, but if you look at sort of what's gone on of late within the World Cup, for instance, and there's this whole chat about a particular team, I won't name them, but we all know who I'm talking about, not necessarily being particularly good role models, It's refreshing to hear somebody, okay, paddle sports is not as big as football.
No, the money's not there, obviously, but at the same time, it's a game.
Yeah.
I mean, you're supposed to. So the reason we paddle, both of us paddle, and again, I don't know how we became friends with Steve. We just, I guess, a common interest. That's the best thing about paddling, whether it be Outrigger or stand-up, is you share a bond or a common interest with anyone from around the world. He's obviously from England, but I met in Australia. I didn't know he was from England at all. You now definitely know now with your accent. But,
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
26 years in Australia, it doesn't qualify.
26 years. And you just said you become friends with people I respected, Steve, and look up to them. And they were my role models, and luckily for me, they were also respectful people.
Yeah.
And but one thing that's really important, I think, is that without Outrigger canoeing, you're part of a larger family, and I think you're also part of a very big gene pool of people who have a deep-seated cultural connection to something that we're almost custodians. And I think because of that, in Outrigger there are a lot less show ponies, there's a lot less show boating. I mean, it really is about mutual respect. And of course, when you're working in 6-man crews or 9-man crews or 10-man crews, whatever it might be, the reality is that you've got to learn to get along. And as Trav says, I mean, if you were steering in a boat, I mean, there's some classic stories, for example, out of Billy Whitford steering and coaching out of California, with his crew, the women's offshore, won Molokai 10 years running. But he used to bring new girls down, try them out for tryouts, and the girls would basically say, and they wouldn't really tell Billy, if they liked the girl, they would paddle hard, try and get her to the seat, so their time trials were high. If they didn't like the girl, they'd paddle slow to make sure she never got in the canoe. They'd say, oh, Billy, she's not that good, And Billy didn't actually catch on for that for quite some years, but these girls were politically steering things, and I think that's the point, that you've got to get along well with people. And I think stand-up is such a more individualistic suit that you don't.
It's very young, yeah.
It's immature, and there are issues that we're working through, and that's okay. But I think that when you see Outrigger canoe paddlers come into stand-up, those particular individuals tend to hold themselves a little higher in terms of their general demeanour, I think, and how they perhaps mingle with others, I think. And it's just an observation.
It's also the best thing about canoe paddling, is that bond you form with your fellow paddlers, and then also even your opposition. You race each other, and then you talk about the race, and that's,
because it's hard. I mean, it's like going to war. I mean, it's going to be line up. You're going to war, and you're going to.
But with beer at the end.
Of course.
But you're with your mates in the trenches. When you're racing, you're within the trenches. And then when the racing's over, you acknowledge not only the efforts of yourself and the others, but also all the guys who've raced against you, or the girls.
The journey.
The journey, exactly.
Canoe paddling races are more of a journey or a challenge. Where stand-up still, some are journey and challenges like Molokai, and others are just made up sort of course things, like a go-kart track. The stand-up, so again, but it's new, so it's sort of like, oh, let's just try this, see if it works, and we're trying this and trying this. But canoe paddling, it's like, no, we want a sense of adventure. And again, at the same time, you got to remember, and I keep telling this, like paddling, or obviously the best sport in the world. You're out in the most amazing place, go to amazing places, like the best places in the world, in the ocean. It's supposed to be fun.
Yes.
That's the whole reason.
A lot of people forget that.
They do. They're like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I was like,
that's when they stop. They realise this, so they go, oh, it's not fun anymore. They stop. But if you meet guys who paddle 30, 40 years, I think I've been paddling for 45 years now, and I think to myself, well, why have I continued? It's because I've had a positive relationship with paddling all my life. And the moment I feel it's not positive, I move things and change things to readdress that issue. And that has meant sometimes stepping outside of competitive paddling for a while. I'm just going to paddle for pleasure. put a smile on my face.
That's where I'm at right now.
And then you come back to it when you're ready. And of course, the beauty about some, particularly with Outrigger, is you've got the option to go into older age divisions, so it's not like you have to quit. And I remember years ago being at the University of Hawaii and at a big meeting, and it was the HGRA annual agenda meeting, and this woman stand up and said, well, we proved one thing, that is that old paddlers don't retire, they just simply create new age divisions. And I think that was really interesting. I mean, and as the sports mature, we've got masters, golden masters, golden masters, and then the nearly deads, you know. And I think that's great, because you can really keep going forever and forever. You know.
In Hawaii, they call it the still cans.
The still cans, yeah.
And they have a beer, still can after the drink. Still can.
So there's a lot of synergy between Outrigger, canoeing and stand-up, isn't there? I mean, obviously you two both come from both backgrounds, if you like, even though stand-up being so young, but you know, the synergy is definitely there.
I feel like a lot of canoe paddlers took to stand-up. It's like, it's just, obviously myself and Danny Ching, I guess, and Jamie were the main ones. Even Aaron Napoleon, I guess, for a bit. And then it was just like canoe paddling was standing up. It was new, it was exciting. But what sort of happened is, I think, obviously stand-up was a huge buzz, and a lot of stand-up people around the world, in Hawaii and here in Australia, have now, the stand-up's been their introduction to water paddling sports. And so now they're like trying prone or trying canoe or va'a. And it's great. I mean, obviously, so every sport's kind of winning. So the people who never try to stand up from other paddling sports are trying stand up, and the people who got into stand up from the beginning, which is a very lot, are now realizing I can sit down and call myself an athlete. This is right up my alley. There's not many sports you can sit down and call yourself an athlete.
No, I mean, there's the names that spring to mind in this country: Ryan James, Peter Holiday.
Yeah, there you go.
They're the sort of main exponents, I suppose, really of.
Yeah, and they're two guys that when I met Ryan, I think he was pretty much just more or less his first day or so, or week on a board. I think he was more much the same. I think I met them doing a downwind, and I'd actually got a phone call, hey, Weston, doing a downwind. How do we do it? Yeah, it's hilarious. So I got in the car, I drove to pull the sandbanks, and we
left the island.
Sometimes it does happen.
Got the passport, left the island, and compassed the packed lunch. Got down there, and then it was blowing 20 knots, and they were like, well, "How do we do this?" I said, "Well, see that point? That's where we're going." And we all went. And from there, the questions became more.
The biggest thing is that they had fun, right?
Oh, they had fun. Yeah, totally had fun.
Like, oh, this is amazing.
And to be fair, if you would speak to all those guys that did that all those years ago, now they would actually have their recollection of it would be so crystal, because it was their first time experiencing something totally outside of their comfort zone. They would never forget it. But from there, the questions came, well, how do I get better? And
start earlier.
Well, yeah.
That's how you get better.
Well, yeah, I mean, more than one time I've been asked how to get good, and they said, well, first of all, get born again, but make sure it's Australia or Hawaii, but don't get born in England, because I mean, in terms of paddle sports, you don't have that huge culture and gene pool of it, so you're not born into it. You've actually got to go here, see.
You don't have someone to copy.
Why do you think that is? Why is it not sort of? Do you think? Is it? I mean, in all seriousness, though, is that it? Is it the seasonality, the weather, what?
Well, it's not in your culture for one, like I said, but it is. It is like people see you out paddling, like, what are you doing out there? It's freezing. Obviously, this day and age, there's more technology where you can K warm. But yeah, like I said, it has to be. I mean, if I lived here, I don't think I'd paddle
all year round.
I'd do something else. I don't know what I'd do. I'd do something else. I think I would. So that's why Hawaii and Australia are so good, is because it's.
We're exceedingly good at sailing. There's many events we are good at in water, of course. But I mean, ironically, wherever we've excelled in surfing or windsurfing, those guys and girls are spending a lot of time overseas. I mean, they get born and bred here, and they are doing a lot of the initial training and work. Then they realise real soon, hey, you can't really sail through a winter here. You should go away. And it's sad that a lot never come back. Some decide to stay in Hawaii, or they stay in Australia, or they move away to New Zealand, or wherever, because they figure that, hey, this is my obsession. I can't be living in the United Kingdom because of it. But coming back to my point there, I think that the main point is that if you're going to be here, you don't just be a one-trick pony. Don't just do stand-up. You've got to look at prone. You've got to look at Outrigger canoeing, which is available. You've got to look at other paddle sports, or even windsurfing, or any form of getting on the water activity that you can think of, because that's of course a waterman makes. We know that. Not one thing is going to make you a waterman. You've got to do a bunch of stuff, and because you can then bring all those skills to the one thing on the one day when the gun goes and you're racing. Otherwise, you got one trick and one thing you know.
It's all feel for the water, if you ask me. If you have feel for the water, you should be able to adapt or live it. And then each water sport or skill complements the other one. And again, it's the same thing, just a feel for the water.
Do you have a preference, or is it also the job?
I used to actually, I started in surf ski,
Right.
or paddleboarding and swimming in Australia, and then all the people in the canoe club were surf ski paddlers that I looked up to. So I was like, I guess I've got to surf ski if you want to be good. Again, because that's what I saw. So I did it, and that was what we did. And then I started canoe paddling. So I just copied so just by chance, I was around some of the best athletes. So you just emulate them.
Yeah.
If I lived somewhere else, then I probably would never be as good as I am. So that's the only reason the good paddlers and the good skiers and the good whatever sport soccer players come from the same area, because they're just copying the best guys as well. So it's sort of,
I think
it's kind of luck.
That big
well.
DNA pool is really important, because you can think that you're good, you can think you're going hard, you can think you're training well, and you can think you're the world's greatest in your head, and then you pack your bags and you go off to race day somewhere else in the world, and you finish and you're way down, you go, whoa, okay, and you have to have a slight readjustment in my thinking here. And so when you are born in Australia and you grow up there or other parts of the world, you very quickly learn your place, and you've got guys you can look up to. I mean, my time was guys like Grant Kenny and
Yeah, it was good iron, man.
Good ironing, Martin Kenny, all those guys I sort of knew and was growing up around in my.
So I think there's better athletes in the world. They're just not fortunate enough to be able to see or copy. Yeah, and that's all. So I just got lucky. I don't consider myself an elite athlete at all. I just said I most important, I enjoyed the sport and I wanted to prove or get these elders respect. Again, I didn't like. You can't just say, "Can you respect me now?" It's sort of something you have to accidentally somehow earn. And so you just by chasing something, I loved it. And there's all these different sports. It wasn't just one. So a lot of people who stand up, you just burn out. If it starts becoming a chore, well then you sort of got to reevaluate how you're doing it. So I sort of keep looking at that, because even I've burnt myself out. I work full time, and I still. So I try and make sure that every session I do is with someone or for fun, and I make it interesting, or I make it. Again, I try and make it any kind of excuse to look forward to it. And so it's ever since I've started doing that again, I'm actually getting better results because I'm enjoying the sport again. It's like okay, I finished, I can't wait to go for a paddle. Okay. Everyone thinks I paddle full time, but I actually don't. I don't know what I'll do if I paddle full time for fun, like mow the lawn maybe. I don't know. You know what I mean? So if you're out there working all day, then you got a schedule. Like you want something done, give it to a busy man, right? You keep yourself busy, and then you're like, oh, I've got to train here, and you train, you do it properly, you know what I mean? And I find the more busy you are, actually you sort of prepare your food, because you haven't got time to sort of sit down and think about it. So you prepare it all and you do it, and it's like it's your journey, it's your fun, it's fun. You make it fun. You do your event. The result's just a bonus or a stepping stone. I don't go to races to win. I go to races for the experience.
Okay.
And so this is sort of, I guess, morphing into what this event here is like. It's the experience. I've never been to London for an event.
It's pretty unique, actually.
It's super unique. Like I should be a part of this. Like I'm slowing down. I'm on my way out. And I was like, this is so. I don't really care what I get this weekend, and it's more about the experience, and the results just a bonus.
So there was a bit of rumour mill, I suppose, chat at the start of the year. I think you did something with the Total SUP guys, and there was a suggestion that maybe this would be the last. For a year, or
for me, I keep saying. I just even said that last year. I was like, I'm not going to paddle this year. But again, so I sort of stepped away, and I kind of missed it a little bit. And I'm not saying. So I kept training. I'm in Hawaii too, and I did a lot of canoe paddling, because everyone in Hawaii does that. So I'm hanging with all my buddies, and next thing I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do another race, and then so I sort of I'm going to do Molokai again.
Okay.
I wasn't going to, but I am. Hopefully it's the last time. And so I decided to see this year out, and then see what happens next year.
Tell us about that wave, the photo that did
the big one a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, that I think for a lot of people was quite eye-opening, with the fact that you're on an unlimited board, dropping into a fairly hefty.
Yeah, it was that
piece as well.
One year it was dead flat. It was supposed to be actually a good year with the tide and everything, and then it ended up going dead flat. It was forecast to be good. It went dead flat, and there's a huge south swell, like one of the biggest ones of the year, but we didn't see it because we're on Molokai.
Yeah.
So we had no clue what we were coming into at the finish. Now, like we said, I've lived there, so I sort of know. I train in that bay, so there is a huge advantage in the race if you train, because it's like a 2 kilometre stretch from the point. So it's 2 kilometres of fairway still. But obviously, you can see the finish. Like the water's beautiful. There's people kind of scattered everywhere. So it's not like 2 kilometers to go. Even though it's the hardest bit of the race with the headwind, I said you can sense the victory. It feels like it's just there, even though it takes 10 or so minutes.
Yeah,
or more.
Sure.
Come around the corner, and I know that bay quite well. And there was a buoy out there, and there was just white water everywhere. And I was like, I have no clue where to go.
Bit disconcerting?
Yeah, and then I actually saw a channel marker that I knew, they recognised, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, I know where I am in the bay now. I knew I got my bearings, obviously, and I was a long way in front, but I didn't know that. I never looked back. And yeah, just as a A-frame come up, and I was confident that I could ride the shoulder and ride off it. Like, it wasn't a huge wall.
Right.
It's called China walls along there.
Yeah, okay.
They call it China walls because normally it's a wall of water. It just stands up.
Right.
And normally doesn't break. But normally. But this wasn't a wall, this was actually a peak. And then just by chance, a jet ski and photographer on it was driving out to start taking photos of us, and he's like, and then he saw me paddling along towards the blinker pole I was aiming for, and then he saw me straighten up this wave, and he said he was like, he didn't believe it, so he quickly turned around, and then he sort of came over the wave, like down it, and started taking photos.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Just by chance, and I surfed it all the way off. And just kept going. Like, I didn't really think about it. Everyone was telling me, no, my boat yelling at me. I didn't hear him. No, I guess I was having fun. I was confident. I wasn't stressing. I didn't panic. I was like, sunlit situation. Yes, I think I can take this wave. I can catch waves. I'm in a perfect situation. Let's do it.
Almost like a zenith point, I suppose, of skills from.
Yeah, if I wasn't confident, I would have not even looked for it. But I just saw it. In your racing, like, in a race, you never turn down. And it's just a big runner, really.
Free ride.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's all you're doing out there. You're looking for the free ride. So it was a piece of energy you're just trying to harness, essentially. And you just got to be experienced. I mean, don't get me wrong. It wasn't easy, but at the same time, experienced people, like, you know where to be, what to do, how to harness, and you know if you're in the wrong spot. And obviously, there's people push the limits when they're surfing and all that at big waves. But this was different. This was, it was a race boat. I didn't think the wave would break, to tell you the truth. It did.
I love the idea of it as well, like the whole thing of riding big boards into that.
Actually, obviously, the steering system, I was going like this, if you can imagine, and the wave's going like this, so I had to straighten up. So obviously, I used my steering system, and then as I was catching the wave, I let it go. It didn't actually come back to centre. Obviously, after 5 hours of paddling, it wasn't as taut as it should be. So, I knew that it was the first time I'm on this unlimited, so it was a brand new board as well, right? And so I actually drew 2 lines down my board, so I would know if it's straight or not. And as I was paddling, as I was getting the wave, I saw it wasn't straight, and it was pushing me right still, because I just turned right and let it go, and it hadn't come out to centre. So that's sort of reason I must feel so low, because you can override the steering with like your rail and your back foot. So that's sort of why I was so far back on the board, and in that, I guess, powerful stance, because I was actually. Again, no, I could see it. I was fighting the board. It was trying to go more right, and I was trying to surf away from the wave. You know what I mean, and take the run. So that's sort of why I am like powerful. My back leg, it's hard to tell, but I'm like really trying to push the tail, just to keep. Obviously, if you go straight, you'll nosedive. So you go a quarter, run the angle. And I was having a really hard time fighting it, but I did. Yeah, I remember just going, oh, please no. So I was in a more powerful, I guess, ready position, which is kind of a good thing, instead of being relaxed and. Yeah, that was a few years ago now. Yeah, it's a good photo.
It's still a good photo. It still does the rounds.
It's still a good photo.
Why do you think unlimited boards haven't caught on over here in particular yet?
They're hard. I mean, so one, they're hard
because they're the most
make.
efficient.
It's the cost and
expensive.
the transportation.
They're not wide either. I mean, it's still a whole chunk of foam, and it's not a huge market. I mean, there are technical boards. I mean, they're only really in Hawaii. A lot in Western Australia now. They're sort of really windy. So windy places are adapting it.
I think that there's one area that's not really been adapted well, though, I think, is the distance paddling on flat water, where an unlimited will give you that glide, and also the adaptability. I mean, I see rudder systems as a little bit. It gives you versatility, gives you a bit of safety. It gives you the ability to go to places you wouldn't necessarily think about it. Yeah, exactly. You don't even paddle on one side all the time. You can offset it with the rudder. Some people just find it overly complicated, and yet really it's like anything. If you spend time practicing, you'll nail it. You get it down, you'll figure it out.
It's like a clutch. It's just no extra.
I mean, and with steering mechanisms, people they don't get it. People seem to think you're supposed to stand over the steering mechanism, use it all the time. You don't. That's not the point. It's really there as a backup. You use it occasionally, only when you need to. You're not supposed to be on it. But I think for ultra distance style paddling that people could go towards, it would be ideal. I think there's a market there. It's interesting if you look at it from another point of view too. Stand-up paddleboarding has always sold itself short in some areas, and one area it sold itself short, I believe, is to the elite athletes who exist right now who might be kayaking or canoeing or doing surf ski or whatever, because they simply will not necessarily gravitate to it with ease, because they don't see anything particularly clever or technical, but they like technical stuff. And actually, if you give them a long board with a little bit with technical gizmos and gadgets, especially with steering mechanisms, it can attract them into the sport in a different sort of way. Yes, it's more expensive, but you know what? They're already used to spending $3.5–4 grand on outriggers and so forth. Guys, they spend 10 grand on mountain bikes.
Yeah.
So really, the idea of just a piece of foam with a fin in it doesn't really appeal.
But again, the reason people do these other expensive sports, like say mountain biking and sailing, is because it's an adventure.
And that mechanism is the adventure.
So if you have a long board, the races now can become a little more adventurous. Like, let's go to that island.
With the wood steering mechanism, what's not pleasant or even necessarily possible on a conventional board becomes so on a board that is rugged.
But it's harder, and they're certainly more expensive, they're heavier, they're longer, they're harder to store, of course. There's a lot of things for it, but again, it depends what you want, and so it suits us because we're from the canoe paddling adventure world, and it feels a bit more like...
You find a way, you know what I mean? Literally, we'll find a way. We're not inconvenienced by putting on a roof rack. We're not inconvenienced by finding a place to store it. We just don't see that as a raison d'etre to just say, I'm not going to do it. That's not the point. And I often laugh about this. That if Outrigger was so inaccessible, was so expensive, was so hindered by size, the sport would never have taken off. And yet there are thousands of them growing on a weekly, monthly basis around the world, as there is with surf skis, as it has with canoeing and kayaking. So length is not a factor in keeping the sport small, or even big necessarily, so whichever way you want to look at it. But I think size does matter.
What do you think about sort of reaching these people that don't even consider SUP to be a sport? That's predominantly, generalising slightly, but these people, that come into it, that buy the inflatable. For the fact that it's easy to transport and etc. We've heard all the arguments, and they don't even consider it a sport. How do we reach them? What do you think? How do you sort of? Do we even need to reach them?
Yeah, I don't think you need.
You don't, because these people are all, those sort of end users are always just going to be recreational. They're not in it to go fast. They're not even looking in it to go fit necessarily. They always want something for. It's a splash and dash solution to the weekend. It's a mooring toy on a boat. It's a tender to the shore. It's something for the kids. They want something versatile. They're not of the same mindset as myself and Trav would be, or Ryan James, or a Peter Holgate. They're just not like that. And so you can understand why they don't see it as a sport. And of course, you can't change your mindset.
No.
But this is where I'll come back to what I said before. If stand-up paddleboard wants to appeal to elite type sportsmen in other sports, then we've got to up our game in terms of what we provide and how we promote. And I know that stand-up's been very reluctant to promote hard as a sport because they don't want to repeat what windsurfing did.
Yeah.
They don't want to sort of push it too hard as a macho, testosterone-filled male pursuit that is for hardcore people chasing waves and big winds. That would be wrong. But we shouldn't necessarily completely steer away from that idea, because then you would just attract only these non-sports people into the sport.
The other thing is, stand-up is actually quite a challenging sport.
There's
a lot of skill involved.
Yeah,
hugely. A lot of skill. You got to stand up, balance yourself, and propel yourself forward, and can steer with this paddle. There's actually a really lot going on. I think that's why people like it. It is a full body workout. But yeah, there's a lot of skill involved and a lot of time needed spent mastering it, but that's with all sports. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and that's where the inflatable comes in. They're like, "Oh, this is easy. I can do this." You're like, "Oh, that's fantastic!" Like it's great that you get to experience standing. Basically, I used to think walking on water is what it did feel like, because you don't have to just lay back down and paddle out. You can just stay standing. So it is cool, and I think that's an amazing market. But yeah, obviously the racing is a bit more niche, but it does follow more of a racing category of canoe paddlers or sailors or windsurfers that do cross over. You go, oh, this is harder than I thought. And you either take it on or by a photo.
I think a really important question now at the sports junction now is, to what extent does racing actually do the sport favours?
I was actually going to ask that question,
And I think if you look at some of the most extreme examples, that some races which are going out through huge surf or whatever, I mean, to what extent is that really appealing to mar and par? I mean, what is that really doing in terms of sending a message to the general public? And my personal opinion is that it's sending the wrong message in terms of what, if you look at what windsurfing experiences was, in terms of being hardcore, where it negated the whole end user market. That's not a good thing. Whereas really, the most successful sort of events that work today seem to be more adventure based. I mean, in like 11 cities in Holland, as much
and
as
the round hailing,
yeah,
even here, being here while we're here, talk about that, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. It's a challenge. It's an adventure where failure actually is an option, and it's okay. You know, it's actually okay not to make it. Whereas when you're racing, failure actually is, you know, not so cool. And you lose all the kudos, and there's sponsorships involved, there's all sorts of things. But I think when you're just going for the hell of it, you're paying your money and you're going with your wife or as a couple or your kids, whatever, and you can have a go.
Yeah, definitely.
You get to see some countryside, see the island, whatever. You know,
travel.
Get to travel.
That's the best thing about sports. You get to travel to amazing locations, and that's why I love both of these sports equally, because you have to go to.
I personally, I would
go to London, yeah, Tahiti, Hawaii.
I'd rather see the sport promoted with athletes being paid not so much to race, but more to go and do crazy stuff.
Yeah,
go and paddle an iceland, go and paddle down a river, go and paddle through the Alps. I mean, whatever it might be, but that's really the upsell of the sport to appeal to greater masses, because racing per se is a singular niche. It's a niche with a niche with a niche, and you either like racing or you absolutely loathe it. And let's face it, racing sucks and it's painful.
It is painful.
It's painful. It's not going to make you smile. It's damn hard work. I mean, the training's hard, the getting there, the competing, you know. And this is why guys like Trav, I mean, he's and others at his level, you know, you can speak to any one of them. They don't actually like racing that much in reality. They're doing it because they kind of got to, and it's just part of what's going on right now. But whether it's doing any real favours for the brands or for the sport in general is questionable.
Yeah. About just on the racing and then the training, what Steve mentioned there.
Yeah.
You're obviously a dad, a fairly recent dad.
Yeah.
Young Hugo.
Yeah. How does that sort of impact things? I'm a dad as well, so I kind of know where you're going to do it.
I kept telling them, they say a kid will change your life. And I said, I did tell you yesterday, I think it's an understatement. It does much more than change your life.
Yeah.
For the better. It's the best thing I ever did. Obviously, I still love the sport, and yeah, obviously, I was like, oh, maybe I'll slow down or stop. And I kind of wanted to slow down and stop, but then at the same time, I wanted to do both. So I found a way to do both. You know, obviously, I said, as my father always says, and I always say it, like, life is a balance. And I do, so I've always been chasing respect. I always try and chase this perfect balance, you know, for everything, for my diet, for my sanity, for my sleep, for my family, for my training. So I do find a way. I go, right, okay, I'm going to do this. I work it out, and so then I get to enjoy when I get to go for a paddle. Yeah, now I got to do this, now I got to do that. Nothing's really a chore, it's just a more little challenge, and that's why I like it.
I mean, you've been a dad as well, so you know, you're
and I used to drive my kid all over the world. I mean, my Alana, she did when she was 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. She did Molokai a few times. She did Catalina. She did Quinila Kalane. I went drag all over the world doing events. She got to see the world. It cost me a fortune, but it was well worth it. But I think what Trav's really trying to say is, and it comes back to this longevity issue, is that paddlers like he and myself, you know, it's a lifestyle. It's not even a sport. It's beyond. It's beyond sport. Yeah, and I think this is very hard to share with people so that they can see what it is, because everything is around that, you know, built around it.
Here's another thing: I'd hate to be full time, because then I'd probably not enjoy it anymore.
I hear that a lot, actually.
If my job was to paddle, okay, I've got to paddle and I've got to do well, and then if I don't do well, I'd be devastated. What am I worth? But now that in my head, like I said, I've never actually been the favourite. I've always just, I enjoy this, and I normally just choose events that I like. You know, so I go to places and destinations that I really like. And I go there to have fun, and the results are the bonus. That's how I've always looked at it. And of course, you want to try hard, so you go to a race, you don't have a good result. It motivates you to, like, oh, I can beat them next time. And so it's good to train with groups and all that. I've sort of forgot what I was going to say, but for me, so I am going to keep paddling, whether or not I try and train at elite level with, I train like 3 times a week. It's pretty much all I can fit in.
Right.
But for me, it's about the sport. For me now is, in my situation, this is just obviously personally, is taking the family with me. So I'll go to events or locations like, oh, this would be amazing. We all go. So you go to a family holiday, be back in a second, do a race. Obviously they're involved. Come back, and then you get to meet some locals. Like I've been here, if I went to London, all I'd see was probably Aussies and Kiwis. But the fact that I get to come here, everyone's been English. Everyone's super nice. It's kind of cool. Yeah, it was kind of warm though. It wasn't that cold. Did you notice that?
Yeah, a little bit last night.
Yeah, I said that every time. I was like, fridges are broken and ice. I thought it was a rumour. I thought they drink warm beer, but I think it's actually true.
It is actually true.
Quicker.
Anyway, you got it because they get too hot otherwise. No, but so that's where I'm at. I'm again, it's the same. I'm just going back. The reason I keep saying this is because I guess I've nearly went through the fact that training nearly became a chore. And then I was just like, hang on, this isn't the reason I paddled. So I turned it back into training that became fun. And the same with the races. Like, I only come to fun events, I come to experiences. The family's not here this time because it's a long way to travel and didn't work. But after this year, my events will be family based, and that's so what I'm after. And I said I want to meet locals, and I want to experience other, and share. Just again, you share with like yourself. We're just both talking about this passion or a sport we love. So you just get on instantly. You know what I mean?
I think what Travis has yet to experience, because he's not old enough to know yet, but he will. But he's just at the fringe of it now. There'll be a transitionary phase for him, because when you paddle all your life, you are Asian. Nothing you can do about that. You can go through age divisions. You can hang on to your youth as long as you like. You can try. Of course, it's just not going to work. But I think that Travis is the sort of guy, I'm sure he'll go on to, and he already is. I mean, he's coaching kids and working with others at a high level in coaching in Hawaii. And I think this is what you do. You amass all this knowledge, and what do you do with it? I mean, I've written books of myself and trained and written all sorts of coaching manuals, but at the end of the day, I think if you can amass this knowledge and we say we're not full-time paddlers. I mean, that's an interesting concept. We're not, but through making it a lifestyle, by default you are. That makes sense. And when you get to the end of your lifetime, you've got so much knowledge. Sharing it is an absolute joy. It's a pleasure, especially for people who want to listen. And of course, with so much white noise you hear on the internet and the forums, and these people who are weekend warriors, who I'm sure they have something to contribute, and there's some good information there. But respect comes down to what Travis is saying. Respect is a very important thing, and there are literally tribal elders, and through the dissemination of knowledge, they can share things. In a sense, because they've been to so many places, done so many things, spoken to so many people, and they're absolutely a hugely valuable resource. And to share that knowledge is
important.
It's important
as well, like I say. So coaching, I mean, again, we've heard rumours that you may be doing more of that.
No, I'm not searching for that. It seems to be finding me.
Right.
I guess people keep asking me. Yeah, and again, I'm not a coach, but who is a coach? I mean, I'm just experienced in what I do, and so no one actually really even taught me. I guess I just learned from actually Canoe culture books, and Steve, I have every single one. Again, I just taught myself nearly, and obviously you read what you can, and obviously right now I'm actually reading more.
We're still talking now.
Yeah,
we spent hours together.
We're
still talking about technique. We're still talking about paddle designs. We're not over it yet. We don't know what the answers are. We might be at the pinnacle of our sport. We may be able to discuss things in terms that other people might not understand.
We're still trying to find
better
way.
We were swapping paddles this morning, going through hey, try this, mate, try that, mate. Only you think, oh, these guys, Kings Clowns, don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's not the point. We're still, because we're never satisfied. We're never satisfied with what we have. We want better.
How do you get across to the people that consider, particularly with stand-up, that it's easy and there is no technique?
Well, that sells the sport short, of course. I mean, if you sell a sport on the basis that there's no skill sets required, then a lot of people will be turned off by that. They'll go, well, what's the point doing it? I think you have to sell it as being a little bit technical, a little bit skill-based, because otherwise you come back to your point before. Is it a sport or is it not a sport? Is it recreation? What is it? If it's so damn easy, then how do you classify it? And I think this is where we have to be very careful. And right now, the sport is in what has been forevermore, or since day one, confused. What is it? Surf sport, paddle sport? Which means you don't know how to market, you don't know how to promote it, you don't know what your target is, you know what your demographic is. Do you put it in a surf store? Do you go to surf expos? Do you go to a paddle expo? Do you go to an outdoor expo? Do you go to canoe kayak expos? I mean, what do you do? And you know, it's absolute madness and lunacy for us to be having this revolving door discussion that's going to go round and round forevermore, which is, and meanwhile, whilst this is going on, the sport is being affected because the general public look at it and go, well, I don't know what it is. I can't get a handle on what it's supposed to be, or how I'm supposed to utilise this thing. I mean, and I was looking at attrition rates. Attrition rates in stand-up paddleboarding enormous. It's all very well having splash and dash sessions to invite people along for a try stand-up, but how many people genuinely come back to it because their first time experience was so lousy, or so woeful, or so skillless and baseless, and that they go, nah. And of course they tell their mates, and so it goes on. But so I think it's been, if you compare that with windsurfing, it's been horribly mismanaged. And if you look at windsurfing, how it was so well managed, it aligned itself with sailing, it's aligned itself with various governing bodies that were appropriate, and it grew through training and through coaching and through government grants and funding, and it became a big deal, you know. And you cannot quite say that of stand-up paddleboard right now.
There's also, it's still a new sport, like you said. Like, to go back to your other question, and I do enjoy sharing with people what I've learned. Again, because no one really taught me. We're all self-taught. Obviously, have a strong background in paddle. Yeah, because we are. So I do enjoy sharing what I've learned, and hopefully people will. I'm not saying this is how you paddle. There is no real way to paddle. It's still like they've worked out the best way to run and swim and all that now, but that's been how many years that been happening. This is still like, we think this is the best way to paddle. That's why I said we're still about, the sport's fun that way because it's new, so you can really learn this new skill. And obviously, I sort of missed a chance to plug there because I do a lot of coaching online called Paddle Monster for America. So again, I'm getting sort of asked or dragged. I'm coaching some juniors in Hawaii off the canoe paddling, and I'm really enjoying it because I can just see how stoked they are. And even they're asking me questions. I'm like, let's try it. You know what I mean? Let's try this rhythm or this technique you're doing and that. And so there is no right or wrong. So I enjoy the online coaching through Paddle Monster, and I'm enjoying. This is what I do, and I don't push on everything's open for discussion.
So I remember seeing it. Sorry, I remember seeing a video a couple of years ago that you did, and it was one about where you had actually changed from reaching forwards, and
I was a little lost what I'm saying because I said I was like, you know, they say the better you know something, the easier it is to explain. I was sort of having a hard time explaining because, again, I'm not just like closing the book on how I paddle, and again I get tired and I sort of try and I have like a multiple different variety of strokes. And they look all the same on video, and I have people like, you just look the same. And even I watch it, I'm like, no, it looks the same. But internally, I feel like I'm doing something completely different. I'm doing the same thing, but internally I'm searching for a different muscle, or I say I'm still a tango, but I'm doing a different dance or rhythm or step. And I'm sort of basically mixing it up on the conditions for one. Obviously it depends what board you're at, and depends how fatigued you are. So when I'm tired, I'll paddle I'll disc. When I'm energetic, I'll paddle a certain way. And I do, and I practice and recall these strokes. I don't just have one stroke.
I was going to say that, coming back to a few things that Trav said prior about, if you're built like him, who does he emulate? He can't look to a guy that's 6'6". It would make no sense because biomechanically everything's different. And I think two things need people to understand it. There's style and there's technique. The technique is to define how to do something that we can more or less agree upon about what you're trying to achieve. But style depends entirely upon your DNA and your physiology and a whole bunch of other issues. And I think that as coaches, it's a massive mistake to walk into a coaching session and say, right, you've got to paddle like me. And if you're not doing that, but you're fundamentally wrong. Because some of the weirdest techniques in the world you can see, you watch guys paddling or girls and go, whoa, that'll never work, and yet they go fast.
Yeah, it works.
And you think to yourself, you've got two options as a coach at that point. You can either, especially like with world champions, way up in the pecking order, which I've been fortunate to hang out with and coach even. But you ask yourself, do I change that and run the risk of slowing them down, or do I just actually embellish it and make them do it even to a greater degree to go faster? What do you do? And of course, through kinesthetics, if you hardwire your body, your brain, to do something, to actually go in there and take all that apart from the electronic point of view is really difficult, because the brain is so hardwired to do something. You can't just change like that. The downside, of course, is that your physiology, your muscle groups, and so we're all hardwired to doing that bad thing or that good thing. If it's a bad thing, as a coach, you've got a lot of work to do to dismantle it, and then they've got to rebuild new muscle groups.
It's good to get coaching early, because then you do learn the right technique or the right from the beginning, and then your muscle memory becomes
day one.
Yeah, but if you do have, I've been to a lot of clinics, I've done a lot of places and done clinics, just say with a set group somewhere, and they all paddle the same.
Right.
So someone was dominant in that group in the early days. I don't know who that was. And again, you have no choice, but you see it every day, so you copy them. My child's doing it now. Whatever we do, he copies. And I was just like, I see it. So a whole group will paddle the same. And I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. Like, how am I going to?
You just hope it's right.
So who's the dominant? So hopefully that's why they're good paddlers. If you're with the right group and you learn the right technique from the beginning, by accident, then you're just going to become a defaultly good paddler. So easy to say, obviously geographically, like, sometimes
to be fair, most paddlers around the world are profoundly confused.
Yes, they're always looking for information.
And I think that, when I used to going around Australia and other parts of the world running coaching workshops with Chris Maynard, one of our primary jobs was to debunk the myths.
Right,
to challenge what they were doing and say, well. And I used to say to them, look, if a coach tells you to do something and they can't actually explain to you why in real terms, my advice to you is don't do it. Tell them to go away, come back and explain to you in non-certain terms the physiology and the reasons, the biomechanics behind it. Otherwise, they're just talking nonsense.
Yeah.
And of course, you see this on the internet, you see it through sound bites, and you see it through texting and all sorts. And you go, oh, I'll take that because such and such said this, and such said that, and that's I'm sure you.
Well, I say those that can do, those that can't teach.
Well, there is that. but if you have done, if you've raised high levels and you have proven yourself, then you start.
If they know you can do it, then of course you can teach.
That makes a big difference. Because a lot of coaches actually can't, and they are teaching, and you go, well, actually, okay, dude, how does that work? And so I think that. There's a lot to be said for that, making sure the coaches are being smart about what they're coaching. But as I say, the most common thing we have around the world is everyone's profoundly confused. How do I paddle? How do I reach? How do I twist? And what paddle do I use? And this goes on.
Absolutely. I mean, that sort of leads on a little bit to what I was going to ask about design. Design of paddles, design of boards. Yeah, I mean, obviously with your work with Mistral, you're heavily involved in that aspect anyway. Do you get involved in the design?
Yeah, very much so. I'm not a designer, but I'm definitely. I just, like I said, I don't pretend I know everything. I will, like I was telling Steve just today. My friend's a designer. I tell him what I would like the board to do. I don't tell him how to do it. I'm just like, oh, gee, it'd be nice. Like, how could we make it do this? Or it feels like it does this. It'd be great if we could do this. And that's the designer's job to figure out, not the paddlers. So I think that kind of feedback was huge with us. I see everyone I talk to, they tell me, oh, your board should, what we should be doing, or what the paddle, especially fin. Everyone wants to talk about fins.
Yes.
I mean, the fin's 100% drag, if you ask me. Yeah. So I'm like, the smaller the fin, the less drag. Enough said. But I don't. So stop. I don't give advice. I mean, just go for feeling, and then just talk about feelings, and then eventually you might figure out that's why the board does that. If you can, that's sort of what I do. I enjoy it, but it's time consuming, so that's the designer's job. I've got other things to think about and worry about my life.
Yeah. And the nuances of boards, I mean, how they interact with you and the ocean and the water. I mean, it's often a personal thing. How many times someone jumps on the board and says that board's tippy, and someone else jumps around and says this board's stable? You go, well, okay, how do you deal with that? I think that from a designer's point of view, let's put it this way: if you try to design a board based on the input of a committee, it would look like a broken hind leg of a donkey, or it would just be a mess, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So ultimately, the designer has to bite the bullet and again block out what they believe to be not true, or at least not within the keeping of the mandate for the board, and be put into what they think that counts. But then, as Travis says, he gets on board and says, well, how can I want it to feel this way. You go, okay, well, we'll just harden the rails up, or we'll tuck the rail under, or round the rail out, or we'll put more rocker in, or we'll go a little wider, narrower. And I think, if you probably the most important conversation we've had in the last day or so, just this very morning, we were talking about width, board width, and how, boards are coming down to 20, 21 inch.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit.
Started on 28. even 30 people on 30.
26 was narrow, and then 25, and then 20.
23 was unthinkable.
We're in the realms of.
This was last year. Now it's 21 and a half already.
Do you think that'll just keep on going? As in, shaving the
it's hit your sink.
Yeah.
Well, the irony is what we're just saying. This is really hysterical because you might have 10 of the world's best paddlers lining up on the start line. Everyone's on 21s. When the gun goes, they're all like a bunch of kooks because they're all trying to stay on the damn board.
It's too tippy for us.
And of course, the reality is when the gun goes, even in mirror glass racing, the reality is that they create rough water. So they're trying to stand on these 21-inch boards until the dust settles and we get some sort of train happening or whatever.
It's funny. We tried to get restrictions. Some people in the beginning ages, and I was all for it because then it comes down to the man racing. At the same time, it was good we didn't because boards have evolved so much. Even on a couple-year-old board, you're like, wow, I can't believe we used to race that. But again, it's evolving so fast. I feel like we're nearly like a 14-foot board can only go so fast and so narrow, and we're nearly at that pinnacle already. Like it's like a propeller plane. It only has a max speed when you're on a jet. So the boards, I feel honestly, they're never going to hit a max speed for 14 foot to enter the unlimited, where you can go. There is no length. Like, and that could be exciting. It's expensive, but what that's going to happen or not, or we just hopefully eventually all the boards will start to set on a set width and length, and they'll all start to emulate each other, and then we're finally all on a level playing field. But 21.5-inch wide boards are so tippy.
They are.
And you can't. I tell people in my clinics, like you got to
be canoe-like to stand on them, which again raises the issue. When you say, well, it's a surf sport, a canoe, paddle sport. When boards start looking like canoes, you go, well, you know what? It's running dangerously close to going towards that end of the scale, isn't it? Because you've physically got to be narrow and deep.
Narrow is definitely fast, but I guess tell me if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, it's number one thing. If you're not comfortable, you're not going to enjoy it. No. And then it's like punching a punching bag. You've got to be 100% solid, otherwise you can't give it 100%. So at the moment we're all out there paddling. I'm not at 100% right now because I can't apply 100% power. It's too. But I've got to keep up with the Joneses and keep a narrow board. So I'm sort of, it's fun. I am enjoying it a little bit because this is a challenge. Yeah. But I mean, obviously, the skill level will get better and it'll be a normal board. But it is also potentially cutting some people out of the sport because now they're like, okay, what have I got to do? Got 21.5. Like if you're getting into the sport, you're like, oh, this is going to take me forever to get to. So I kind of like the restrictions. If it was a bit wider, then it is more of a man-on-man. At the moment, the sport's going to come down to basically the lightest sort of agile people will have an advantage because they can go now, where the bigger people are going to be sort of disadvantaged. But again, I mean, basketball is like that. The big tall people have an advantage. So I guess you could say it with anything. But look, obviously I am on slowing down, and I'm going to. It's a great sport. I'm going to be involved I'll paddle for the rest of my life. That's the best thing about stand up and canoe paddling. I'm going to paddle the rest of my life. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And why not?
Why wouldn't I? It's a sport. It's a sport you can do. Like running, you might have to stop running one day. Stand up, you probably never have to stop stand up because it's very safe and straight, and I don't think I can think of a more enjoyable sport. Maybe downhill skiing, but it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, you've done a bit of skiing of late.
I went to France actually. I just love skiing. It's like a wave that never stops essentially. But I don't like the cold. I like it for a week or two, and then I'm out.
Or breaking legs.
I've had 2 knee surgeries as well, actually.
Of course, that is the other thing, isn't it? When you are sort of within one sporting area, and then you go off and do something else to maybe get some downtime, you run the risk of injury, and then that obviously knocks onto your main thing, and then having to manage that as you get older.
No, the only reason I started paddling is my knees kept falling out, so I decided to actually start paddling, so I couldn't do the dynamic running sports. Okay. So that's the only reason I actually got into paddling in the first place. Oh. The only sport I actually could do. So I don't know if I didn't have any problems, maybe I wouldn't be paddling. I think that's impossible. I think I would have been, but no, I don't think of that. I hate that if you're doing a sport, I can't play basketball here, or I can't go hunting, or I can't go surfing because I'm worried about hurting myself. It's terrible. Just do it. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you're for fun. You're supposed to be having fun. It's not trying to get first in a London city race. Like, it's there for fun and have a good bash, and whoever wins on the day, like, well done, and then go and talk about it, and that's sort of. Yeah. So hopefully people start to see it. Hopefully more people will continue to join the sport for that side of things. Yeah. So the races are just an excuse to come together and have a bash, and set the results a bonus. Right. That's pretty much.
Just quickly, just want to talk about your new toy a little bit. I know you went out on it yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
So, as we've said, there's a lot of synergy between all these sports. Obviously, Steve, you come from a windsurfing background as well, and I think your Hawaiian sailing canoe, Tahitian sailing canoe. I think that's a kind of an amalgamation of all of those things. You use a paddle, it's a canoe, but it's also sailing. Tell us about that. I mean, you went out on it, like I say, for the first time yesterday.
It's funny. I mean, I've been around this sport my whole life. I live in Hawaii. I've never been in a sailing canoe. I just haven't had time. I'm not a windsurfer or a kite surfer. There's always wind. We'll go downwind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or if there's surf, like there's always something to do in the ocean, right? And so I just haven't given myself. I just haven't stepped into this category yet. And so I came all. Well, I live in Australia and Hawaii. I came all the way to England to go canoe sailing. It's kind of.
Yeah,
it was fun though.
It was my first time in the canoe, and obviously I know a lot about canoes, and it was epic.
And again, we were talking about this morning. I mean, when you are a water person, you know, there are so many choices, aren't there? You know, do I do kayaking, do I do windsurfing, what do I do? You know, do surf? I mean, and the thing is that, you know, if you have too many things, I mean, you need a bunch of things, but you want to be careful you don't get obsessed with one and then forget about the others. So it's always good to have a cherry pick from a bunch, depending on the weather conditions. But canoe sailing to me, look, it combines canoeing, combines sailing, surfing, you know, all nautical skills. I mean, it's got so much in there that it's very holistic, and I think Travis is blown away. Well, it's free power, you know, like you're sitting there,
energy, and
you're 4-6 and things just
you're in this tiny canoe, you know, you're touching the water, so you feel connected. I mean, it felt like the movie Moana.
Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously I live in Hawaii as well, but it just, all of a sudden, like, I was just like, the energy's amazing.
And I just wish that everyone could have a go, and wish everyone could afford one and keep one in the backyard and have access to something like that, because the experience of it is just truly phenomenal. And you hear at the sailing club, you know, there's a lot of respect for it. Going, wow, it's not just a thing of beauty.
It's very different as well.
They can see how it's all hand rigged, put together, and they can see it skimming out across the ocean. And that's how quick it is, how versatile. And
amazing sensation.
Amazing sensation. This is a very ancient craft. It's in a modern format. But yeah, it keeps, for me, for my soul, for my sanity, it keeps me connected to the Pacific, and that's to me very, very. It's my ohana back in the Pacific. I think if they see me connected to it, that's good for. It's kind of a good good connectivity I have.
Yeah,
I think not to have. I have OC1 canoes as well here, but if I didn't have the Outrigger, there's no club immediately around me. So yeah, and hopefully, and coming back to what Travis was talking about before, about sharing your knowledge and sharing experiences, and the more people we can take out in the sailing canoe and get them to understand the roots and just what it's all about, you know, I think open their eyes. You know.
Knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
The right knowledge.
Well, yeah, and then knowing how to share it, and of course, you know, it's funny in my life. Everyone says I'm quite opinionated, but you know, I also say yes, but I work bloody hard to have an opinion. And you know, some people have opinions and they've done nothing to believe they've got them. And I think, you know, that's okay. You know, I have to listen to everyone's side of the story, of course, but at least I'm living out, you know, what I walk the talk, if you like.
Yeah,
definitely explain it.
Nice one. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground, which is good. Hopefully you guys enjoy this as well. Thanks for talking to us. It's been a pleasure. Yeah, it's always good to catch up with you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Fantastic.